Hey friends, my name is Daniel Jarchow and I work with the Sojourn Campus Ministry at the University of Washington in Seattle. And so my wife Holly and I, we were working in campus ministry at Arkansas State University, and we took a group of people from there, coworkers from there, and started Sojourn 5 years ago. And there's really a couple of different things that really define our vision for Sojourn. And the first thing is just really focusing on discipleship. You know, we want to train students to have a faith that's going to last a lifetime. You know, not something that they're just going to enjoy during college and then fall away from right after college. And so a lot of our focus is not just on right belief, but actually practicing the way of Jesus. You know, are we actually growing in our love for our enemies, in our prayer life? Are we giving to the poor? And all of those things that define Jesus's way of life, we really focus on discipling students well. The second thing is, you know, that discipling relationships that happens within the context of a community. And we're really blessed at UW to have students from all kinds of different cultural, racial, national backgrounds that we get to bring together and learn to love each other. And I think that's the practical stuff of discipleship is, you know, God transforms us through community, and our spirits are transformed through loving people who are different from us and being patient and kind and learning from each other. So we really make that a core part of what we're doing as a ministry. And the third thing is just really focusing on apprenticeships. And, you know, with Sojourn over the last 5 years, we've had several different training opportunities for people. And that really comes out of just my own experience of being deeply formed through apprenticeships and different internships that I've had, having all kinds of mentors who have just simply shaped the way that I view God and how I engage in ministry, how I think about my life of faith. And so that's been a really important part of our vision of what we're doing at Sojourn. So over the first couple of years of Sojourn, we really felt like we were making pretty steady progress year over year. And probably for so many other ministries and churches, that really ground to a halt with the pandemic and having just all the things associated with that, with quarantining. For us, it was around 18 months where we were all online for school. And as you might can imagine, if you take away the place from campus ministry, you've taken away a lot. And, you know, I think for us, that was incredibly challenging where, you know, I think we tried to continue to do the best that we could and continue to disciple students in that time. But it just wasn't the same. And frankly, it wasn't what we signed up for. It's not what I wanted to do. I don't want to do online ministry. I want to do ministry in person with students. And so I know for us, we never really thrived during that time. You know, maybe some people did. I definitely did not thrive during that time. And as a ministry, it was tough. You know, it was tough having that 18 months of being online. And so that was the real impetus for us wanting to reboot, in a sense, is, you know, at the beginning of this year 5, we had a knowledge that this was going to be a really important year for us, where, you know, through that time, students had graduated, had fallen off or whatever. And we were kind of getting to that point in year 5 of, you know, we need to really see if this is a sustainable ministry. So this last summer, we really spent a lot of time preparing for that, right? Just really getting ready for this year that we knew was going to be really important. And so there's kind of a few basic things that we did to prepare for the reboot, so to speak. And so the first thing was we just evaluated where we were at and really took inventory of, you know, who is a part of the ministry, who are those people, who are the most committed in that, what kind of gifts do they have, what kind of networks are they a part of, just basically kind of taking an inventory of as a ministry, what kind of resources do we have available to us that we need to ask God to use to bring about this mission, right? So you're evaluating, you're taking inventory of those things, and then taking that inventory to then empower those people. And I think that's, at least for campus ministries, but, for churches too, this is really important because for us, I'm very aware that I'm never going to be a student. Or, I don't know. I'm not a student at UW right now. And so on some fundamental level, you have this awareness of we have to empower the students themselves to reach their own people, right? And I think that can be true in churches too, but as a campus minister, you're always aware of that. And I think that's actually really helpful. And so as we were preparing to do that this summer, we really identified looking back, it kind of came down to three people that we wanted to empower. And so the first one was, his name is Tan. He was our most engaged undergrad student. And, that summer he came up to me one day and he said, I want to be like you. I want to do what you do on campus. I said, that's awesome. That's apprenticeship. That's discipleship. That's what we're wanting to do. And so we just really leaned into that. And Tan has been amazing, through empowering him to do what God wanted to do through him, through helping empower him. He's probably not just invited, but actually brought to our ministry the last 6 months probably 20 or 25 of his friends. I mean, it's been amazing, to see just, that focusing on him, discipling him very intentionally. We could really see how that paid off this year in just seeing his development and his love for his friends, his care for his friends, and just how God has gifted him to live a life of, integrity and congruity, where he's like, yeah, this is just who I am. So I invite my friends into that. And we had a graduate student named Rick, who's much the same way, who just so committed, and really empowering him to, okay, how do we make the graduate student stuff what you believe your friends need most, and empower you to help bring, those people into what we're doing. And lastly, our apprentice, Mackenzie, who graduated from UW, she's done an amazing job. And she had, some of these networks of being from Eastern Washington, being half Mexican, where there were Mexican students who were coming to UW who, there's just not very many Latina students at UW. And so they're looking for a community, and she's able to connect with different types of people than I would be able to connect with. And so she's building those connections and bringing them into a greater community where people from all kinds of different backgrounds can come to love each other. And so that's really what we focused on, was one, taking evaluation, inventory of all of those different gifts and abilities and networks, identities that we have, and really just seeking to allow God to bring those things out and empower those things in our students and Mackenzie, as well as ourselves. I think one of the things that's been kind of cool for me is just really noticing how anxious I was this summer, getting ready for this year, where I just was worried about how this year was going to go. I was worried if God would provide, or if he would provide in the way that we wanted him to provide. And I think it's been cool to see how a lot of that has dissipated over the year, and just how it really came from coming to that place this summer where we had to say, look, if this is a calling, if this is something that God wants to happen, this particular community at UW, that he's going to have to do it, because this is all we got. This is all we know what to do in this moment. And I think there's something to that, in that there's a lot of freedom in those moments, ultimately, when we're able to just say, look, we are co-workers with God. We're going to do what we know to do, but there's only so much we know to do. And this is going to have to be bathed in prayer. It's going to have to be something that God brings about. And I think that's one of the coolest things that's happened for us this year is just in myself and Holly, in Mackenzie and our students. I think we've really grabbed a hold of that and really learned to trust God in that he's going to continue to bring about what he wants to happen. And there's just a simple trust in that. And I really have grabbed a hold of those metaphors for the kingdom that are always, what is it like? It's like a seed. It's always these farming metaphors so often where farming takes patience. It takes perseverance, where so much of the work is going on beneath the surface, and you just don't know when something's going to sprout, when it's going to bloom, when there's going to be fruit, when it's going to be harvest time. You just don't know when those things are going to happen. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about so much this year is I'm just glad we persevered to this point. And that's my encouragement to you guys is don't give up before you get to see what God is trying to bring about. Don't give up before you get to see those things that you pictured. So much of what's happened this year are things that we've dreamed of, things that we've prayed about for, at least 6 or 7 years now. And it was just now that a lot of those things came to fruition. And at times wanted to give up, wanted to say, why isn't this coming easier? Why isn't it happening now? But now that so many of those things are taking place, it's just such a blessing to have persevered and stuck with God's calling, to learn to trust him through trials, and for myself to be able to give up some of that anxiety and worry about, isn't this on me? If I don't do it, who's going to do it? And I think at least for us, we feel so much joy that God did answer those prayers in the ways that we wanted to. We wanted to continue to be a community at UW, and he brought about that reboot. So that's a little bit of our story recently at Sojourn, and thanks for allowing me to share it. And I'm praying for this strategy lab, just that God would give you visions of the future to reach his people that he dearly loves. And so I hope that he gives you perseverance and so much joy in this journey. Blessings.